Destination Medicine is a collaborative initiative of regional training hubs. With first-hand lessons learned from those who have gone before, this podcast is designed to assist and inspire anyone interested in pursuing a medical career in rural and regional Australia. Welcome to Destination Medicine. I'm Peter Letts. Dr Rebecca Irwin has firmly planted her flag at Barcaldine in Queensland's Central West, and it's here that she intends to stay. A generalist at the Rural Hubs Hospital and Multi-Purpose Health Service, Rebecca loves her role, providing a blend of primary and emergency care to her community. In this episode, she shares the story of her indirect path to medicine and describes the fulfilment she experiences by serving her vibrant rural community. But first, Dr Rebecca Irwin starts by describing her early interest in healthcare to Nicole Goodman.
I'm not entirely sure, but it was in high school, either year 11 or year 12. I had done some work experience through school in teaching and finance, and then later on in pharmacy and aged care. And that was really when I started developing an interest in health. And then as I was discussing options and what I might like to actually do, that's kind of where my interest in medicine arose.
Right. Well, your road to training in particular wasn't quite a linear one, but it cemented your love of working rurally. Tell us about that journey and where you ended up studying.
Unfortunately, I didn't get into medicine straight from high school, which is a very common occurrence, and I was trying to work out what I would do instead. I knew I really wanted to do something in health, and I was looking at opportunities for what I could study maybe more locally, so I didn't have to move too far away from home. So I grew up on the Central Coast, not rural, very much city, on the beach. And it was through that kind of progression of what do I want to do that I decided to actually do nursing. And that was actually run at a Rimba campus. And it was the best decision that I ever made. I absolutely loved the nursing degree. I fell in love with that aspect of patient care and community care. And part of that was rural placements. And that really was the, I suppose, experience that cemented my love for working rurally and my passion for rural health. So in particular, it was my very first rural placement in Tamworth. It was just 2 weeks, and I feel like it changed my whole vision of what health was and what a multidisciplinary team could be. So I absolutely fell in love with rural health from that nursing placement in Tamworth. So I couldn't speak more highly of it. And then from there, it really just developed further and further. So I did more rural placements. I decided, I really love nursing. I still want to do medicine. Why don't I try for postgraduate? And I already know that if for some reason I don't get into med school, then I'm going to go down the pathway of becoming a remote area nurse. But as, the journey will have it, I did get into medicine. I think it was after around the third time of trying, and that I did get into Australian National University, and I already knew that rural general medicine was where I wanted to go. And so that just meant that I sought out all of those placements. So I did my whole third year in Bateman's Bay in Moruya. It was a fantastic rural experience, a mixture of ED and GP, and just working with doctors who were working as rural generalists. I had a great experience that I was offered through the Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine. I actually won the President's Prize, and so it meant that I got to do a placement with the Royal Flying Doctors Service in South Australia in Port Augusta, and that was very cool. So flying to provide primary care services to remote properties. So doing blood pressure checks, but flying in a plane to go do them. So it was absolutely fabulous. And of course, because I was interested in that, I was involved in rural health advocacy. And so throughout my degree, I was part of the ANU Rural Medical Society. And that kind of led me to then become more involved at more of a national level. And so that was through the National Health Student Network.
Do you feel that you've had more opportunities training in a rural hospital compared to, say, training in a metro hospital?
I definitely think I have. When I had my rural placements and then rural internship year and other training, you really are part of that team. You're a small knit team. You work together. You work at the extended scope. And so your learning opportunities are greater because you're not fighting against all the other medical students or all the other interns to do a procedure. You've got greater support because it's not just another face in the crowd. you've been working with these people for the last few months or year, and so they want to support you and encourage you, and they want you to stay as well. There's workforce shortages everywhere, but particularly so in rural and remote health. So there's this real beautiful culture, I think, in rural medicine and in rural health in general, where you want to support your team, you want to foster those relationships so you actually get retention. And I think that's what you feel when you're in a rural internship or a rural placement.
I just want to explore this wonderful kind of rural working environment. Tell me, what difference has living and working in a rural community made to your life and how you live every day?
I think I didn't truly get the rural experience until I moved to Barcaldine, and we've been here for almost 2 years now. And it's a remote town. It's a population of around 1,500. I service an area of around 3,000 people. My whole town, if you were to ride around the outskirt, is around 5-6 kilometres.
Wow.
So it's not a big town. But I think in terms of the difference here, rather than what I remember during even my internship in a larger regional centre, there was traffic lights and traffic, and I ride my bike to work because it's only 5 minutes down the road. I can come home for lunch, which is good because I eat here, but bad because then I'm doing washing. But that's okay because you've got the chance without children to clean.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I actually get to be able to duck down the road to the daycare or to the school to go to an event. It's right there. I can be there for my children. I am able to work with a team that not only do I work with clinically, but also see in the community as well. So it's that beautiful, again, that culture that I don't think you necessarily have in a metro area or even just a large regional centre sometimes. And the sense of community is amazing. So there's something on every weekend and every day of the week. There is something for the children to do, but it's all community run. So it's affordable for everyone and everyone puts up their hand to help out. One of the other things that I really love about town is rather than having your big commercial outlets, you've got cute little stores. You know, I've got a boutique bookstore, a boutique little baby clothing store. We have this wonderful shop of opportunity. So there's just things like that that mean that you don't need to even leave town to buy the things that you need for everyday life. Particularly when we moved here, it was just us. It was a big leap of faith to take my husband, my 2 kids, and move an entire state away and 1,500 kilometres away from our family base into a remote community. And we were so welcomed, which was lovely. Even within the first weekend of being here, we met 3 different families with similar age children. And then from there, we've had weekends full of birthday parties and barbecues and going to a swimming pool or going to the ski park. And our lives are so full here and we have so many more friends than we did in the metro area. And we also have a greater opportunity to see them and really flourish those relationships, whereas we didn't really experience that in the metro area. We had friends, but it was just so hectic to be able to try and find the time to really meet with them.
That's a really good insight, actually. I hear so much of what you've said from other medical professionals, but the flourishing of friendships makes perfect sense. Let's go back to the formalities and tell me about your experiences with the intern application process. How did you go about it?
I did a lot of thinking about the internship process. It's quite involved. It's quite complicated as well. It's each state specific. Luckily for me, I knew that I wanted to go rural for my internship year. I'd already experienced wonderful placements in Batemans Bay and Maria, like I've mentioned, that were very well supported, where you felt part of the team, more exposure. So I wanted that to continue in my internship year. But I also wanted to be closer to family. And so that's how we landed on Maitland Hospital as my internship application. And luckily for me, it wasn't part of the ballot system because it was that rural health location. And so I could apply directly to the hospital. And it meant that I got to meet everyone, do an interview, have a tour of the hospital prior. I had a bit more control over where I was going. And when I went to visit, I really enjoyed meeting everyone. one. And I also knew I'd be part of a very small cohort of permanent interns. So I think we had around 6 of us that went through the different rotations together. So we were able to really help each other and bond and provide that internal support. And it meant that I had a wonderful experience, and I was only an hour and a half away from family too. So we got to spend a bit more time with them. When I started at Maitland Hospital, I really enjoyed the rotations, and as predicted, it was a great starting point for, I suppose, learning the ropes as an intern, practicing for real as a doctor rather than as a medical student. And I applied to the New South Wales Rural Generalist program, which means I was connected to rural mentors, supported with additional kind of information and workshops in regards to advanced specialist training. And I applied for the Australian College of Rural Medicine training program in my internship year, which you can do. And I was able to start ticking off the requirements at Maitland. And I think that was one of the great things about choosing an internship as a close-knit small group of 6. It meant that there's not a lot of fighting then over rotations. And I was able to get all of the core rotations that I needed for GP training. And so I was able to get my paediatric rotation, my ONG rotation. I was able to do the ED work that I needed to. I was able to start ticking off a lot of those skills that I needed for my ACRM logbook as well before most other people were doing that. And then I also had first dibs at the advanced skills training posts at Maitland because I was already there as an intern. I was part of the New South Wales Rural Generalist program, which is one of the benefits of being a part of that program. You actually get first interview for training positions. And then during this whole time, I had my first child. I then was supported to come back part-time. I then continued back into full-time, decided, I was trying to choose what I wanted to do as an advanced skill. And for those of you who maybe are not that familiar with the Rural Generalist program, there's like 12 advanced skills to choose from. The whole reason I wanted to be a journalist is because I like everything. So it was very tricky to narrow down what I wanted to do. But I did a paediatric rotation as part of my core GP training and fell in love with paediatrics. It was my home. I knew this is where I wanted to be. The team was so incredibly supportive, and I knew that it was going to be a safe place for me to train. So the only difficulty then was that Maitland wasn't accredited for paediatrics at that time for the Australian College of Rural Medicine. But this is where you have that support. So I reached out to the New South Wales Generalist program. I reached out to, at that time, it was the regional training organisation. So I reached out to GP Synergy, said, this is what I'm looking to do. I spoke with the head of the department for paediatrics at Maitland. He was on board, very supportive. And so he did all of the paperwork that was required for ACRM and GP Synergy. I'm sure there was more. And so that way we actually got it approved in time for when I needed to do my advanced skill training. And so then I was supported to come back, start my advanced skill training year. Then I had my second child, supported to come back part-time for an entire year. So I feel like just that level of support should be the normal everywhere. But, isn't, unfortunately. It's getting better, but there's still some way to go. But in Maitland, I was so well supported, just being so thoughtful and considerate about my return to work and easing me back in again. And then also allowing me to have those educational opportunities that I needed for my training. They also arranged for me to do my anaesthetic 2 weeks that I needed to do for my GP training as well, which is incredibly hard to get in your GP training. So it meant that I was able to tick that box before I moved here to Barkie, and I wouldn't have been able to move to Barcaldine and do the job that I'm doing if I hadn't had that 2-week placement. So it was just fabulous. Like, they were supporting me to go and leave. But they knew how important it was to me. So I just don't think you necessarily get that everywhere. And again, it's about because you know the people, you're part of that team, and you're not just one of many.
And what about advice that you'd give to a medical student considering undertaking a rural internship?
Just do it. Look, I think it depends on what type of person you are and what your circumstances are. I think it's a fabulous opportunity if you do have a partner and kids and you're looking at moving somewhere longer term or even just for a shorter term. And then from a clinical aspect, get to enjoy being part of that really small health community in the hospital hospital or in the GP practice and just enjoy it, that additional exposure. I think there's a misnomer that if you go rural for your internship year, you won't get the exposure or the skills that you need for metropolitan rotations, or you won't be able to do whatever specialty it is that you want to do, where going rural actually benefits your application. And in terms of your scope and skills, it's usually more because yes, they're supported, but you have a broader scope of practice whilst you're working in a rural area because you have to, because you are seeing more of it and doing more of it. So I think even if you are single and not partnered, then if you go to a rural community, there are lots of other single health professionals. I know in Barcaldine, the nurses here have an absolute ball. And if you are a medical student or an intern or a rotational junior that comes out here, you'll be going to the Alpha Ball, you'll be going to the races, you'll be going to the movies, you'll be going to the local pub, you'll be playing pool. They'll have a whole social itinerary for you, and they'll also be trying to work to see if we can partner you up so you stay here for life.
Singles, you've heard it here first.
Exactly.
Now, of course, you've mentioned that you're working at Barcaldine Hospital and Multi-Purpose Health Service. Tell us about your role and how you ultimately ended up there.
Look, it really happened by chance. It was one of those situations where I was coming to the end of my paediatric advanced skill training. I was at the point where I needed to start my GP rotations and training. So I was looking in the Hunter area. So we'd already been in Maitland for around 4 years by that time. Had 2 children, we had a house. So I was looking for a salaried rural generalist position. I wanted the security of having sick leave and annual leave and having my leave entitlements transferred across. That's what Queensland and particularly the Central West offered. So I was able to become a salaried senior medical officer, provisional, and it meant that I got all of those benefits. I was salaried. I got remote bonuses because it was Monash model, which was MM7, so it's as remote as you can go. But it also meant that we were very well supported. They need people, so they paid for my family to move up here. They provided a house for us. They made sure that I got my kids into daycare. When we came to visit, they took us to the schools. They took us to the main street to visit. It also offered, which I think is the craziest part, the type of job that I always wanted. So that mixture of GP, so primary care, which is the core part of rural journalism, and then some hospital care, emergency care, doing outreach. So I go to 3 other communities and provide primary care services. They're about an hour to an hour and a half away in populations of 150 to 300 people. But I love it. I absolutely love it. And they are so grateful that they have the services that are coming to them as well. And then a way of embracing my paediatric advanced skill, I provide support to other colleagues in the Central West area around paediatric care. And then going into this year, I'm going to be doing some of the paediatric outreach clinics with the paediatrician who comes to visit. So I'm being able to then reduce the waiting times for patients in my area, which is just fabulous. So, the initial leap was because I couldn't find what I wanted in New South Wales. There are now opportunities in all of the states and territories for salaried positions. But now that we're here and we love it, we're not leaving.
Yeah.
But my original aim was, let's do it for 2 years. The experience I'm going to gain here will mean I can literally work anywhere. And then 6 months in, we realised that we're not going to find something like this, are we? I mean, we love it too much here, and I love my job, and I still do love my job. And they've been so supportive for upskilling, which I definitely needed on arrival, and still ongoing support even now that I'm fellowing next month, and supporting me to have life-work balance. So I'm ended up here accidentally and then fell in love and not leaving. My plan for the next 5 to 10 years, build a house, stay here, enjoy life, enjoy family.
Dr Rebecca Irwin, a GP at Barcaldine Hospital and Multi-Purpose Health Service in Queensland's Central West. This is Destination Medicine. Thanks for listening. Regional training hubs are supported by funding from the Australian Government under the Rural Health Multidisciplinary Training Program.